Surviving the loss of a child. Is there really any such thing? To have those two in basically the same breath just doesn't seem right. But if you've stopped here to watch this video, I'm imagining that you too have suffered this unbelievable devastation, or maybe somebody you love has walked through it. My prayer for this video and others is to give you some hope and some ideas to help you navigate this uncharted water. You know, there's not really a name or a category for us. If you've lost a child, more so, you are kind of everybody's worst nightmare. And I recognize that initially in the beginning when I would see people scatter as I approach because they didn't know what to say. They didn't know how to help or how to even talk about this terrible scenario. I remember at our son's funeral, a friend from our church who had lost her child about 9 months before ours approached me in the receiving line, and I looked at her and I said, I don't know how to do this. Thinking, of course, she would give me a tutorial, A, B, C, and I could start on that process. Instead, however, she said, this is a terrible club to be a part of. When I heard those words, little did I know how strong they would ring and how I had to learn a lot of this by myself because this is a very small club. And I want to share with you some of the things that initially helped me out as I began to push through finding that new normal, if that's such a thing. Mornings were the toughest for me. I equated that rise of the sun as one more day away from ever seeing my son. So it was hard to get out of bed. It was hard to face yet another day. And so I had a friend diligently call me every single morning early. And she would say, what's on your heart? What's in your head? Let's talk you through. Let's pray you through and get your feet on the ground. It was real helpful because it kept me focused, because otherwise I would go down that rabbit hole and find myself not being able to begin my day. That was extremely helpful and lasted actually for months until I had the strength to do it on my own. Another helpful hint I found was to remove everything possible that could be a trigger. And I say that in this world of social media, you're exposed to everything. And I found that I didn't want to see happy families. I did not want to see birthday celebrations or weddings because it just reminded me of what I've been robbed of. And so another friend came and literally removed all of that from my view on social media. So there was a good period of time that all I saw were recipes and cat videos. No joke. I don't cook, and at the time I wasn't a cat fan, but it didn't take me down that terrible grief and loss and anger that I was experiencing if it was in my face. Another tip, if you will, that I found was I had to express what would be helpful for me. Now, when you're barely able to function through the day, it's really hard to ask for things. But one thing I found was when people would ask me, how are you? The bubble over my head and oftentimes out my mouth, but that bubble would say, well, how do you think I am? I just lost a child. Or if I was having just that brief moment of peace and a little hint of some normalcy, it would bring me back to where I was living 99.9% of the time. So I ask people, instead of saying, "How are you?" to instead say, "Hey, it's good to see you today. Can we go to dinner tomorrow? Hey, it looks like you showered." Things like that that acknowledged my presence, but didn't have me having to think or answer a question that was just too big to do so. Another tip that I have carried through for years now is staying in day tight compartments. Now, what I mean by that is once I would get up, it was real easy to start worrying about what's going to happen at noon, what's going to happen at 5, how am I ever going to go to sleep? I can't get this off my mind. I'm so tired. My grief. So I said, all right, for this next hour, this is what we're going to focus on. Nothing more, nothing less. And especially in those beginning days, it was, I'm going to shower. I'm going to try to eat a meal. And when I would get through that hour, I'd celebrate it like nobody's business, because celebrating those little wins lands you in a sense of gratitude as opposed to despair. So keeping things in manageable bites allows you to see a win or a victory, as well as then sees that you've got the strength to do that next hour and that next hour. And I vividly remember thinking, I went a whole day and I didn't cry off my mascara. And that was because I was focusing not on the gap of all of this, what's not happening, but instead of the gain. I was focusing on the gain. I had made it through the day. And so I was only able to do that by taking little chunks at a time. And those little chunks began to add up until I could say, I had a better day today than I did yesterday. I hope some of these tips either spur you along or give you some ideas. Or if you're that person who you're walking beside somebody that is going through this, I'm hoping you can give them that kind of support. Please check out these other videos. I think you'll find value in things that we've learned along the way, and so desperately want somebody else to be able to get through on the other side like we have. Thanks for watching.